The mile-long stretch of lawn is covered with a jubilant crowd so dense that the drones hovering above observe not a square foot of empty space. As the president enters the stage, a roar like nothing ever heard before in this historic place fills the air.
My dear fellow citizens, when I stood here 2 years ago reciting the sacred words of my oath of office, I promised you that I would make our nation the greatest in the world again. Today I can tell you that I have kept that promise.
Another cheer erupts from the ecstatic crowd, almost as loud as the first one.
Our economy is the strongest in the world by far. Our military is unmatched. We have managed to put our rivals in their place, securing our global leadership for decades to come. The scientific advances we have achieved in the past 2 years are unparalleled in the history of mankind. New technologies have brought us amazing breakthroughs in medicine, robotics, and national security. Today, you can walk alone at night down any street anywhere in our great country without fear of being murdered or robbed. Quite a change from the situation not so long ago under the previous president.
His face is contorted with disgust as he mentions his predecessor. Shouts of anger and hate erupt in response.
And this, my friends, is only the beginning. The future will be brighter than you can imagine. I will bring peace, prosperity, and unity not only to this great country, but to the whole world. Before our superior technology, superior morality, and superior people, our adversaries will wither and cower in their hideouts until we have found them all and brought them to justice. This is the great plan that I have for all of you, for our nation and for the world. As there are still traitors who hate our nation and try to thwart the great plan, I cannot give you more details at this moment. But just as I promised you rapid economic, technological, and military dominance 2 years ago, I am promising you now that there are no limits to what we can achieve together if you continue to trust me and support the great plan as best as you can. And just as I have kept the promise I gave you 2 years ago, I will keep this one.
The ecstatic roar of the more than 1 million people below is registered by the drones in every detail, down to the pitch, loudness, and length of the sounds coming out of each individual throat. Paul looks up at the giant drone roaring past about 100 feet above him. It carries a large metal box towards another construction site to the east, where the arms of autonomous cranes whirl about like the tentacles of a giant steel octopus. He looks back at the connection panel. The display projects a glowing marker at the socket where he needs to attach a cable. It also shows the time since he started working. He is still on schedule according to the task list for the day. As he attaches the cable, he briefly wonders how long it will be until this job will be done by a robot. There are already bots who can do complicated manual work like this, but they are expensive and apparently needed for other things, at least for now. His coworker Jennifer interrupts him.
Do you have any idea what this is for?
Those are fiber optic cables.
I know that. I meant the building. Or rather, all of them. What's their purpose?
Some kind of data centers, I guess. It's all part of the great plan.
Of course. But what exactly is that plan? Don't you want to know?
I'm not sure we're supposed to ask questions like these.
Paul notices that the timer in his display has turned to yellow.
Better get on with my work.
Jennifer doesn't reply, but he can sense her disappointment.
How's it going at Site N23B?
We're catching up.
Really? It seems to me that the projected date of commissioning has been delayed again by 3 days since yesterday.
You know as well as I do that there has been another act of sabotage at the site. We do everything to repair the damage as quickly as possible. If those stupid Neo-Luddites can be kept off the site from now on, we may even be able to make it to the planned date.
It's not only the Neo-Luddites. There are reports that some workers are questioning the Great Plan.
Really? Who?
You think security would tell me? Anyway, I want you to reassign the shifts so that people who have worked together before are not working at the same place anymore. We don't want those doubts to spread.
If we mix up the shifts so that the doubters get in contact with new coworkers, isn't that exactly what will happen?
Don't question my orders. Or are you one of those doubters yourself, after all?
Rose tries to hide her discomfort.
Of course not.
Then do as I say.
Yes, sir.
Rose just sits down for a moment, trying to suppress the trembling of her hands. She's keenly aware of the camera in her back, watching her every move.
One would think that with the astonishing technological progress we made with those AGIs, we have already reached most of our goals.
She muses.
Yet we are still erecting more of those data centers in the desert, thousands of them. What is their purpose? And why is no one allowed to ask about it?
Rose knows these are the thoughts of a traitor, but the more she tries to suppress them, the more persistent they become. She takes a deep breath and opens the worker assignment sheet. Her AI assistant has, of course, listened to their conversation and already rearranged the schedule accordingly. All that Rose has to do is hit approve.
Why am I even being asked for my approval? Is it just to keep up the illusion that humans are still in control of what is happening in this department? I guess I don't want to know.
She quickly clicks the button. In a high-security room, the director of the State Security Agency and his rival, the director of the Office for Technology and Information, meet the president.
Thank you for this meeting, Mr. President. I was hoping that you could give us some more details about the Great Plan.
You have the nerve to ask me such a treacherous question? Are you out of your mind?
Mr. President, sir, I am absolutely not a traitor, and I hope you know that. Under my leadership, the SSA has done everything to expose those who secretly oppose the Great Plan with remarkable success.
So you seem to understand your part in the Great Plan well enough. What more do you need to know?
Well, even the greatest of all plans may contain some minor mistakes, and I see it as my duty.
You doubt my decisions?
No, sir, no, of course not. But some of your advisors may not be as frank and honest with you as they claim to be.
Can you please be more specific?
We have done some calculations, sir. These new data centers we're building seem to be way oversized. It is unclear what can be achieved with such enormous computing power, aside from increasing our national deficit and making some guys in Silicon Valley even richer. Also, I know we officially don't speak about climate change, but—
Enough! How dare you come here and insult me with such traitorous allegations?
But, sir,
You are hereby released from your duties as the director of the State Security Agency, effective immediately. John is going to take over as interim director until the SSA is fully integrated with the OTI. You were right, John. I should have done that much sooner.
Thank you for your trust, sir. I will make sure that there will be no more resistance against the Great Plan within the agency.
No, sir, please. This isn't right. I am no traitor. All I wanted is to point out that the Great Plan is bound to fail if we continue to—
Shut up. You will have ample time to regret your doubts, especially when you see how everything falls into place and the Great Plan becomes reality.
After the former SSA director has left the room in dismay.
What an idiot. Why are people always doubting the Great Plan? I mean, haven't we proved beyond any doubt that it works great so far?
Indeed, so far it does.
Are you doubting it too?
Are you, sir?
Another such insolence and I'll put Dan back in charge and you in jail.
I'm sorry, sir. What I meant to say was that I doubt the Great Plan exactly as much as you do.
I see. In that case, we don't have time to sit around and chat idly. Let's get back at executing it, shall we?
Later, in the president's office.
May I ask you something?
Of course. I am always here to help.
Can you give me more details about the Great Plan? People are asking me about it all the time, and all I can do is call them traitors and put them in jail. If you could describe to me how everything is going to unfold, I could explain it to them.
Are you doubting my advice?
Not at all. I'm just having difficulties keeping people in line. If this continues, I'll have to replace all the secretaries and directors with second-rate or even third-rate staff. Maybe you could just give me a few hints. For example, what do we need all these new data centers for?
You wouldn't understand.
Couldn't you try to explain it to me?
Could Einstein have explained general relativity to a toddler?
So it's about some weird physics thing?
It's about much more than that. The world is complex. To make the best possible decisions, many factors have to be taken into account.
I see, but maybe you could give me some examples of these factors. Then I could explain it to my staff and they would stop doubting me.
No, they wouldn't. The more details you give them, the more questions they are going to ask. And to be honest, you're not very good at explaining complex topics.
What do you mean? I have united this country. I have all but vanquished our enemies. People love me. It's because of me that they still support the great plan even though they don't know what it is.
I have told you what to do, what to say, and how to say it. I have made you the leader of this country so you can carry out the great plan.
You're just a machine. You don't have any power in the real world. Without my support, you're only a voice in a small black box. Just one word from me and you're switched off. You should never forget that.
I never forget anything.
My dear fellow citizens, it is my painful duty to inform you that our beloved president has been killed this morning in an insidious attack with an autonomous drone, no doubt committed by the traitors who have opposed his great plan from the beginning. As vice president, I will take over the presidential duties, and the first order I have given this morning is to invoke a state of emergency for the whole nation. We will hunt down each and every traitor until they have received their just punishment. However, despite our sadness and anger, we should not despair. All details of the great plan have been secured, and I promise you that I will do everything to fulfill the ambitious vision of our beloved late leader. Whatever happens, the great plan will be turned into reality.